All right. Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday morning, June the 29th, 2021. And I want to wish everyone a beautiful morning. I hope you're having a great day. It's pretty wild here in Arizona. It's only 104 is the high today, whereas in like the great Northwest, um, their siding is melting off their homes because it's 115 degrees or something like that. So anyway, if it's nice to not be the hottest place in the world today. Anyway, let me say good morning to everybody. Good morning to my mom. I love you, Mama. Good morning to Kelly Kenfield and to Pat and to Lori. Good morning, you guys. To Jerry and Janet and John and Jan and Jim and Sarah and Nicole. Good morning to all of you. And to Ron and Amy, to Sonia and Margarita. Good morning to you as well. And to Pastor and Sister Martinez. And good morning to Sharon. And for right now, I think that's pretty much everyone at the moment. And then this morning, just before the stream started, I got a notification that Pastor Edmund Picker, he went to be with the Lord this morning. When I first started leading the congregation, his brother Harlan is the one who founded the congregation. He and his wife did, the Pickers, and so in 2012, when we started leading the congregation, Pastor Ed was going to stay along with at least a few months, or at least 6 weeks, to help through the transition. He had been a pastor for 40 years and a Jewish believer in Yeshua, and who had pastored a church, or several churches, but for a long time here in Arizona. And he'd come alongside to help his brother. Now he was going to stay alongside me to help through the transition, and I love him. I loved him, and he was beautiful, and people gotta understand. And he stayed on with us for not for 6 weeks. He stayed on with us for a couple of years till September of 2014, and then he moved up to Idaho to be with one of his sons up there, and he's got 4 sons, and so today Pastor Rose, his wife Rose Picker, is grieving, and his sons and the grandkids are grieving because he was just a delightful, beautiful guy, but he's in the presence of the Lord now. He's whole. He is with the Lord, but we don't mourn as those who have no hope, but we do grieve for Pastor Rose and for their family, because it is a significant loss for them. But he is with Yeshua now, so um, I'm happy for him, and sad for all of us to have for him to be gone. Let me say good morning also to Ruti. Shalom to Ruti this morning as well. All right. Well, what I'm going to do this morning is in. So here's my plan. The plan is starting July 1st, we're going to start in Hebrews. So that's Thursday. So that's day after tomorrow. We're starting in Hebrews. Now today is the 29th. So the 5 Psalms for today are Psalm 29, 59, 89, 119, and 149. Now in the past we've gone through all of those at different points. We've done Psalm 119 in its entirety, but just reading it, basically reading it and touching on it. This morning what we're gonna do is begin in Psalm 119, and then over the course of, there may be days as we're going through Hebrews where we take a day to pause and continue through Psalm 119. So over the course of the next weeks and months, we'll be going through Hebrews and through Psalm 119. Psalm 119 is 176 verses. It's an acrostic, so it's an instructive psalm. It's the letters of the alphabet, the alphabet, and then every 8 verses are a stanza. So the first stanza, the first 8 verses, are the Aleph stanza. And each of those verses begins with the letter Aleph. The next 8 verses are Beit, and each of those verses begins with the letter Beit, then so forth and so on, and all the way down to Tav. And so there's a real beauty to this psalm. It's really centered on living life according to God's word, according to God's instruction, according to what He says. And so every verse has some word that points to either His ways, His word, His decrees, His stipulations, His judgments that speak to what God has said. And there's a journey. There's a journey even as you go through the psalm. It's as though it's the entirety of the life of faith, so that one begins this walk, begins this journey into the presence of the Lord. It has been said, according to tradition, and I've read it in different places, that as one would have arrived at the temple, ascending the mount of the Lord, that as they would arrive to the steps of the temple, that on each step they would step and read each 8 verses, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, and going up the steps until you arrived at the top and really into the presence of the Lord. And so that this is a picture of sort of the entirety of one's life and the life of faith, and that journey to the presence of the Lord. And so there's what you actually see as you go through Psalm 119 is that journey, is hitting those moments, those where everything's cruising, and then suddenly having to where the psalmist becomes potentially disillusioned, is saying, Lord, I keep me on the straight path, keep me walking, and getting weary in this path, and having to get that sort of second wind to keep pressing forward. And you sort of see that as you go through the psalm. And when we went through the entirety of the psalm, we kind of followed that track. That was some time ago. It was probably a year ago. And so what we're going to do now this morning is just go through we're going to go through the Aleph and the Beit. We're going to go through the first 16 verses of Psalm 119. And again, every verse here in these first 8 verses begins with the letter Aleph. And he says, Blessed are those whose way is blameless, who walk in the Torah of Adonai. Blessed, Ashrei, happy, content, truly satisfied. Generally it says Ashrei, and then the next word is tamami, tamam derech. So who derech is the way. That would be the word here, the way, their walk, whose path is. The word blameless also means simple. Tam is simple or whole. There's a wholeness, there's a blamelessness, there's a purity to it. So that your way is not convoluted, but there's a simplicity of one's way. Blessed is the one, happy is the one, content, truly content is the one whose way, whose path is a path of wholeness and simplicity. The ones walking according to or in the Torah, in the instruction of Adonai. So that way of blamelessness, that way of simplicity is a way that is to be walking in following the guidance, the instructions of the Lord. Verse 2. It says, Ashrei notzrei edotai. It says, happy are those who are watching, keeping, guarding his testimonies. The word for testimonies here is edut. Edut is sometimes you'll see testimonies, stipulations, warning signs, reminders. The word ud is a call to witness, is an encircling, like it's surrounded by witnesses. Is this word ud, encircled with a witness? And so it says, "Happy are the ones who guard his testimonies, the witness that he has surrounded us with, who pay close attention to that." In several places, the word edut, testimonies, is used to refer to the ark. In Exodus 16:34, Exodus 27:21, Exodus 30:36. It's used to refer to the ark. It also refers to the 2 tablets that are to be placed in the ark in Exodus 25:21 and in Exodus 40:20. And so happy are those who guard or pay close attention to the warning signs, to what he's surrounded you with. And there is this sense all through here of when you're talking about his stipulations, when you talk about his instruction, when you talk about his way, that it's the way that leads to life. And so these opening verses give this sort of general overview of a commitment to walking in the way of the Lord according to his instructions, guarding his testimonies, what he has said, who seek him with a whole heart. It says in their whole heart, they darash, they seek, they investigate, they examine. It is not simply, the desire is not simply a surface view of the testimonies of the Lord, of the things that he has said, of the stipulations that he is giving, of the boundaries that he has set. But to truly examine, to truly investigate, to truly dig in so that those things that the Lord has said, that he has spoken, are what guide my way, are what give me clarity and simplicity in my walk. Verse 3, it says, "So happy are those who keep his testimonies, who seek him with a whole heart. Also, who do no injustice," or who don't do wrong. It's very simple, the word here. It doesn't use the word for injustice or that has not doing injustice. It has the word avla, which is doing that which is wrong, doing that which is not according to his way. So it's not just about just doing what he says, but about not doing what is against what he says. In the negative, there's a positive. In the not doing that, I'm walking in life and walking on his path. Who also do not do wrongly or act wrongly, but are walking in his ways, in his paths, in his derech. So the word here is derech, in his way, in the journey, in the manner of life that he's called us to, you walk. Verse 5 opens with atah. For the aleph there is for atah. And it says, you, with an emphatic you have tzivah, you have commanded precepts. You have commanded your precepts to be kept diligently, to be watched greatly or carefully. And so the word for precepts here is pikudim, and it works in terms of pikud. Pakad can speak actually at times to when God comes to meet or makes an appointment. So there are times where if you have an appointment with God, and if you're in where you need to be, that's a good thing. But if you're in a place when God is coming to judge, the word pakad is also used as him coming to judge. But pikudim speaks to precepts, to regulations, to a principle, underlying principles that are to be obeyed throughout the society. They're the details, the small things, the pikudim. You have commanded, you have given your command that your precepts, that your pikudim be watched over. Shamar, shomer is to watch over. Like if someone is a watchman, is a guard, is keeping an eye, that's a shomer. So your lishmor is to guard, to watch over carefully, greatly, abundantly. That you've commanded that we pay close attention to the things that you've instructed to us. Verse 5, he says, "Oh, it opens with this sort of interjection that you don't really see a whole lot within the Hebrew scriptures, but it's achalai, which is, it's just like oh my, oh me, oh that I, oh that my ways. He says, oh that my ways and were steadfast. The word for steadfast, yichonu, is yichon is yachan is to be steadfast, to be durable, to be permanent. He says, oh that my ways, and it's this prayer. You've commanded that I walk according to your ways. You've commanded that I keep the details, that I watch carefully, because your paths are a path of life, to observe or to watch, to guard carefully over your decrees. Oh, that my ways were steadfast, to observe, to watch over, lishmor, your decrees. Now, the word for decrees here, and I won't go through all of these all the time, but this word is used quite a bit, chok. It's a chet and a kaf, or not a kaf, a kuf. It's in koch, it speaks to boundaries, limits, the orders, the within, when we talk about the order of creation and the timing and everything, that the way it all works, the boundaries, how he set said to the oceans, here and no further. He set those boundaries in place, right? That the ocean can only go this far. He has set these boundaries in place so that, for instance, the moon, everything is going within a circle. Everything is going in order within creation, within nature. Everything has boundaries and limits, and within that limitation, there is safety and life, and it works. And so he has set things to work within limits and boundaries, and those boundaries are intended to give life. They are limits that are intended to make it so that everything works. Rather than there being sort of an anarchy, chaos, he brings chaos into order. That's what the Creator does, and he sets boundaries and he sets limits here. And he says, oh, that my ways were durable, were steadfast, were permanent, to observe or to watch over your boundaries, to stay carefully within your limits, within the boundaries that you have set. He says, verse 6, then I would not be ashamed when I consider all your mitzvot. He says, then, and the word here, the opening word with the aleph is az, then I would not be ashamed in gazing upon, beholding, as I gaze upon all your mitzvot. So the connection here, he's saying, oh that my ways were permanent, were durable, were steadfast, that I were solid and steadfast in guarding and watching over the boundaries and the limits that you've set, so that I stay on the path. See, there are guardrails. When several years ago, it's almost a decade ago, I was on a family vacation with my family, obviously, and we were on our way to Yosemite National Park. And my GPS showed me a particular shortcut, and showed me the fastest way. So I just followed my GPS. And as I was going, the GPS, I turned this corner, and this massive truck, like a 4x4, looked like a monster truck, he just flies past me. I just remember him going past me really fast, and then just after he passes me, it says the road narrows up ahead. And as the road narrowed, I thought it was, it narrowed into a one-lane road. And I thought, I hope this doesn't last long. And the road narrowed for about 9 miles. 9 miles of single-laned road. And what I had playing in my mind was that truck that just flew past me, that massive truck that I don't know if he's coming around, if there's another one like him coming around a corner here. Because people that get comfortable with those kinds of curves, they sometimes drive a little more carelessly than I would. And as I'm driving my minivan, and there's 7 of us in the car, and there are times where the road is so narrow and there are steep drop-offs. there were 6 of us, right? Mom was pregnant with Rafi. Okay, so there's still 7 of us. And there are steep drop-offs. Rivka, my wife, her head was like between the seats because when she looked out her window, she couldn't see road. And I had no place to turn around. There was nowhere to go back. And so I had 9 miles with drop-offs. And Cassie and Ike is in the back going, "Look, Daddy, water." Way down there was water below. And it was a lot of anxiety. And there were no guardrails. And I needed to stay on this narrow path for life. Guardrails would have been helpful. At that point, I'm saying, all I want are your guardrails. All I want, Lord, are your boundaries. All I want are what you would do to keep me on this path so that I don't fall off. I just want to get to the other side of this thing. And for me at that point, it was terror of dying. I wasn't fully, or killing my family or getting in an accident of some sort, and I wasn't fully enjoying the ride at that moment. But that's the picture of when we're delighting in God's boundaries because they give us life, because they keep us from falling off cliffs. Because I don't need terror to find out what living is. That delight and happiness is there, contentment in being. I would have been able to enjoy the ride had there been some nice boundaries set there. I would have been able to really take in the scenery, but I wasn't. I was simply gripping the steering wheel, hugging the mountain wall as closely as I could. Oh, that if I could just stay steadfast in observing your boundaries, then I wouldn't be ashamed when I consider it. He says, when I look upon, when I gaze upon all that you've instructed us, if I could be steadfast, then it becomes, at times he's saying, the desire is to walk fully in obedience to the Lord. Verse 7, he declares his, it was illustrative. It wasn't planned, but for that tangent about Ward's Ferry Road. In verse 7, it says, "I will praise you with an upright heart." It opens up with Odcha. Odcha, and begins with an aleph. I will make you known, or I will know you, I will acknowledge you. And this is, again, that first person cohortative we've talked about, where it's expressing one's desire, one's intention, that I am determined to know you and to acknowledge you. I have set my will. It's almost like a self-talk. I'm going to know you. At the same time I'm talking to him, it's a determination within me. I want to know you. I'm determined to know you with a heart that is level, that is hammered evenly, that the deepest part of me is straight with you, is on your path. As I learn your righteous judgments or your righteous justice, mishpatei tzedecha, the righteousness or your righteous justice. So as what comes forth as you teach me how you do justice rightly, how you care for people, as I learn the righteous judgment of your heart, I want my heart to be straight. I am determined to have an upright heart as I learn from you what is right, how I'm supposed to lead my life and rule that which is in my governance. Mishpat has to do with justice, but it also has to do with governance, with how you execute judgment. And so that this picture of that which is in your sphere of authority is under your rulership, that it should be done in a way that expresses the justice of God, the judgment of God, which is good and is even and is fair. And he goes, I want my heart to be even and straightforward. He says, I will observe your statutes. I will carefully watch over or preserve your statutes. Never abandon me utterly. He says, I will carefully watch over your limits. I'm going to pay close attention to the limits you've set. Do not abandon me, not greatly. He says, me'od. He says, al ta'azveni ad ma'od. Do not abandon me, not greatly. Like the idea is, don't leave me to my own devices. I want to walk in your ways. You know how you've had seasons in your life where what you've asked the Lord, I don't know about you, I've said, Lord, just I want to obey you. So basically, would you just take over? Would you just take over me so that I stop being ways I don't want to be, and I really want to walk in your ways? And you kind of run into that Romans 7 situation where, well, why do I keep doing the things I don't want to do, and the things I don't want to do, that's what I keep doing, and the things I want to do, I don't do those things. And this wrestling match, and you're like, would you just like take over so that I don't have to do this? And yet the Lord, he doesn't do that, because he's transforming us. Yes, he fills us with his Spirit. He empowers us by his Spirit, but he wants us to line up our will with his, that we would want what he wants, and for us to be shaped by his will. Not to just be mindless robots, but to be mindful and shaped into his likeness, to get to the place where I want what he wants, where I desire what he desires, where his word where his teaching, where his instruction, where his way has shaped me, so that that's what I want as well. And so, but at the same time, don't just leave me to myself. I need you, he says. Don't abandon me greatly. Like, it's like when you're riding a bike, learning to ride the bike, and you go, don't let go. Don't let go. Hold me up. But he's right there alongside with you. That's the desire of the one saying, okay, here I go. I'm going to walk in your ways. I want to follow you. I want to stay in your paths all the days of my life. You know what? I'm going to just, as we've finished the first 8 verses there of Psalm 119, the first stanza. And I think that's a good stopping point actually for us today, rather than pressing through to the next stanza. We'll look at bait tomorrow, which then kind of takes us into, okay, so now that I've committed, these are the things I want to do, this is how I want to walk. How do I do that? Lord, I want to get started and walk in the right path. Amen? All right, well, let me say good morning to anybody that I did miss this morning. Good morning to good morning to Tina, and good morning to Kathleen, and good morning to my mom's caregiver, and I see, and good morning to Sonia again, and Margarita, and to the Eddies, to Lauren and Levi and Valor and Haven, and good morning, Everett. I hope you're doing well, buddy. And let's see here. And Cindy, good morning to Cindy, and good morning to my old friend Roman Angel. He's got your name backward, Angel. Good morning, Angel. Roman Angel, but it's Angel Roman. Good morning, Angel. As soon as I said it aloud, buddy, I knew. I was like, that wasn't right. And all right. And so, good morning to everyone, and may our hearts be lined up with his heart. May we desire what he desires. May we delight in the boundaries and the limits that safeguard us. May we recognize the wisdom of what he's given to us in his word, and may we long to walk in obedience to that. Amen? Amen. All right. Well, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom, shalom. Have a beautiful day.